welcome back to Beautifully Chaotic. I'm Yesha. I have been having a rough couple of weeks, and it has come to my realization that sometimes I romanticize my sadness way too much. And this is something my sister also pointed out, that maybe it's not that deep, and maybe you should just, move on from things and not hold on to things too tight. And coincidentally, I came across a Substack post which said precisely that. It goes, I was 15 the first time I underlined a line by Dostoevsky in a second-hand copy of Notes from Underground. The spine cracked like an old man's back, and the words were, I say I let the world go to hell, but I should always have my tea. And I remember smiling because I understood something I hadn't known I did, that I too was capable of contradictions, that maybe we all were capable of holding despair and routine in the same breath, of praying for love while practicing detachment, of grieving while making dinner. This made me realize, right from the time of Dostoevsky to now, we've all had similar human experiences. So, why do we think that our experience is unique? Why do we think that our sadness is greater than everybody else's? Why do we think that our suffering is greater than everybody else's? And while I've not had the chance to talk about this openly, maybe this is a great platform for me to open up about it. I do feel like we romanticize our sadness way more than we should. Yeah, I do think so. Um, I think a lot of it comes from the fact that we grew up in a country like India. For me, I think primarily it was that because I grew up watching movies where sadness and heartbreak was romanticized, and this concept of unrequited love, one sided love, is greater, and it's sort of like glamorized in some way, and a lot of other things like trauma is glamorized, a lot of experiences have been glamorized, and this narrative has been fed to us that if you've not had a difficult childhood, if you've not had a traumatic past, or if you've not had your idiosyncrasies, then there's no way you can be creative. So for a long time, and I think even till date, I feel like the reason I'm being creative, I feel like part of it comes from all the things that I've been through in life, all the trauma that I've dealt with. But I don't think that's true. I don't think that you need to have a really rough life or a rough story in order to be something. One of the classic examples is Van Gogh, who had a very difficult life and he thought he was a failure, not realizing that decades later people would be paying for an immersive experience of his paintings and his art. I don't think I've met a single artist who is, I wouldn't say normal, but sorted in their head. I don't think I've met any artist who claims to be really, I don't know, I've not met a single artist who's not been through a difficult time in their life, or someone who's not faced an insane amount of trouble and upheaval in life. And I think, especially in the artist community, we feel like you've got to romanticize your sadness. I think some people really cling on to their sadness, and I think I'm one of those people. I'm trying to be more, I do know that I have a very chirpy and a very bubbly side to me. I just don't perhaps hold on to that for too long, as long as I hold on to my sadness. And another realization I've had is that that's my ego talking. Anytime, any feeling or emotion that stops me from living my highest good is coming from a point of ego and not a point of life. So every time I feel like I want to sit with my sadness, I want to sit with my melancholy, I know that that's my ego and that's not me. Because ain't no way my true self would stop me from living or enjoying life. And every time I'm having a rough time, I just tell myself that maybe, just maybe, consider the fact that you've romanticized your sadness way too much than it's needed. And I do feel that. Yeah, I think most people who know me would say that, yeah, she is a very sad kind of person, but I don't think my sister would agree to it. I think the closest person who's ever come to realize that I'm not that sad is actually my sister. I sometimes do fear that if I stop holding on to my sadness that I will lose my creativity, but I'm pretty sure that's not true. I'm sure that narrative has to change, that every creative person needs to have some sort of melancholy attached to them. I want to break that pattern, I want to break that identity, and I want to show not to the world but to myself that in order to be creative, you don't have to be sad. You can literally just live your life and still be creative. I know a lot of people who are creative in their own way, not necessarily in a quintessential creative manner, but I know engineers who are very creative but are also enjoying life. And in order to be creative, they've not had to force feed themselves this idea of sadness and melancholy. And I am trying to, yeah, just move on from this identity of being sad, because I know that's not me. That melancholy is coming from a point of a bad experience from the past, a traumatic past, but I don't think I don't think I should hold on to it so tight that it stops me from experiencing life. Yeah. I feel like maybe my wow. I feel like my creativity will grow exponentially after I lose that sad part of my identity. And I think that's gonna happen. I feel like the more I tap into my whimsy, the more fun I'll have in life, and that in turn would bring me would bring me the kind of community I want to build. Yeah. Wow. A lot of times when I'm making these videos, I have such crazy epiphanies that I don't even have in the shower, because shower is usually when I think a lot and I have crazy ideas and crazy epiphanies. But I realized that the more I'm recording these videos on a regular basis, the more I'm having these epiphanies, and it's helping me a lot. So yeah, I think I should be consistent.